Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome along to today's OCS Pre-Scene Analysis Part 1 for the November 2023 exam. My name is Hugo Newman, and I am the co-founder of VIVA Financial Tuition. And before we get started, I just want to do a very brief introduction to VIVA and our course offerings for the OCS. So some of you will already have purchased a course with VIVA for the November 2023 exam. Some of you may already be all access members with VIVA. And some of you may be joining us for the first time, maybe your first time coming across VIVA. You may not have purchased any courses with VIVA before. So that's the reason I want to do this brief introduction, just for the benefit, especially of those people who are coming to us for the first time. And once I'm finished with this brief introduction, then I'll introduce Catherine and she can get started with the actual pre-scene analysis for today. So what I'm going to do is share my screen, and then I am going to just very briefly run you through VIVA's course options for the operational case study of November 2023. Okay, so I just want to make sure everyone can see my screen. So in the chat, there should be a little chat panel for you on the right-hand side of the screen if you're on a desktop or laptop. If you could just type in and say, yes, I can see, and that'll just obviously assure me that everyone can see the screen. And yes, that's good, looking good. Okay, that's great, guys. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down through this page very quickly. This is our operational case study page, and I'll be sharing the link to this in the chat box as well for anyone who wants to have a look afterwards. So we have two main offerings for the operational case study. Okay, so the standard course offering includes all of these course features here. So as you can see, we have on-demand video lectures, live webinars, mock exams, downloadable course notes. We have theory review sessions for the objective tests. So that would be your EF and P pillars. And we have applied theory sessions as well, where we take those subjects, we take the most important topics or most relevant topics and theories from the EF and P pillars and apply them to the actual pre-scene content and kind of model how you would answer questions on exam day. So those are all features of our standard course offering. And we also have what's called the elite course offering. And the elite course is a really intensive, extra personalized course. A lot of very useful live elements. It's got live workshops where you have a small group of elite students and yourself interacting with your course tutor. And you will have also some private tutor access via this online community that we've set up, which we talk about here, the Elite Students Forum, which is where you can interact with your fellow elite students on very active discussion forums, share articles, ideas, doubts, questions, concerns, and your tutor will be interacting with you there as well. We have personalized mock marking as part of the elite course, workshops on how to actually write your answer on exam day, debrief sessions where your tutor will walk through a mock exam and talk about how to answer, things to avoid, things that you could do well, and so on. And then we also have, of course, our lifetime pass guarantee, which is as a part of our elite course as well. So that means that if you meet the terms and conditions, you attend the classes, you submit your mocks for correction, and if in the unlikely event that you don't pass the exam, even after doing all of that, you will get free access to the next elite course, and so on until you pass your exam. So you're guaranteed that you will get through your exam and you won't have to pay any extra cost for the subsequent window if you, as I said, if you attend the sessions and you do all of the things that are asked of you in the elite course. So on this page, you'll be able to find lots of information apart from this. You'll be able to look at the course syllabus. You'll be able to download your course calendar if you haven't already, where you can see the times of all the sessions and you can plot out your study plan and things like that as well. You can see your tutor here, Catherine Shirley, who you'll be meeting today. And then here is perhaps the most important part, which is where you can actually access your course. And the great thing is you can choose your exam window. So it's defaulting to the current window here. You can see November 2023. And this is where you can do kind of a compare and contrast of the standard course versus the elite course. You can see, obviously, all these features are explained in more detail above. But you will be able to just get a brief overview of what you're getting. Okay. And you can choose your window as well, which is nice. If you want to look ahead to future windows and you are going to say the future window, you can always just toggle to the relevant tab and you can again purchase your course down here. So we'll stay on the present window. Obviously, this is the one that's most relevant to all of you. And you have two options here. You can either get the standard course for $199. Simply click the enroll button, or you can get the elite course for $599, and that unlocks all of those amazing features that we just talked about. Okay. The great thing about the elite course is that it gives you two different payment options as well. So you can choose to pay in installments, or you can choose to pay with a one-time upfront payment. The benefit of the one-time upfront payment is that overall it's actually less expensive. You get a £100 deduction on the price if you pay one payment upfront. Or you can choose the installments option, which a lot of students prefer, which is paying an initial deposit of £99 and then 6 £100 monthly installments over the following 6 months. Okay, that suits some people better. It's slightly more expensive because you're deferring those payments, so it's $699 instead of $599, but still, we believe very, very compelling value for what you're getting. Now, there is one more thing that I want to explain to you, which is what's called our All Access offer. Now, our All Access is perhaps our highest value offer available, and this may be of particular interest to students at the operational level, because this includes, it unlocks access to all 12 CIMA professional level subjects. Okay, so all 12 standard courses for the various CIMA subjects from E1 all the way up to SCS are unlocked for 12 months from the date of purchase. Okay, so 365 days from the date of purchase, and you unlock all of these standard courses for those 12 months. And this is a really amazing offer because you've got thousands of hours of premium content. You got all of those on-demand video lectures, course notes, mock exams, mock solutions, and so on and so forth. So you can have a look through this in your own time if you wish. There's a 7-day money-back guarantee in case you don't like what you see, but we believe that you will, and that has never really been an issue for us. And as you can see here, it's an amazing one-off price of $399. So you just pay that price up front one time, and you get 12 months of access to award-winning CIMA course content across all 12 subjects. So that's another option for you as an operations level student. You may be very interested in that, so certainly consider that. One of the great things also about the All Access offer is that as an All Access student, you will also get £100 further off your elite course if you decide to join up with an elite course. So you could purchase the All Access, and you could also then come along to the elite course if you want to benefit from those additional features, those personalized features. You can come along to the elite course and you will be able to get £100 off the elite course. You simply send us an email at info@vivatuition.com if you're an All Access member, and let us know and we can arrange that for you. Okay, so another great benefit of being an All Access member with Viva Financial Tuition. So, as I said, I'm going to just share the link in the chat to that page if you want to peruse it in your own time. Again, this is primarily for those of you who are not already signed up with us on the actual full course. So you should be able to see that now in the chat, the link to that page. You can look at that afterwards or in your own time. And I'm also going to leave our email address just in case anyone wants to ask any further questions. If you have any queries or doubts about our course offerings, again, you can address those to info@vivatuition.com. So if you do have those kinds of questions about, like, what does Viva offer and various kind of practical questions about Viva's offerings, you don't have to ask Catherine. You can ask directly at info@vivatuition.com, and that'll be the most efficient way of getting those answers. But as I said, a lot of the information you'll be able to find on that particular page. Okay. So I'm going to stop talking and I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I'm going to pass you over to Catherine. So Catherine is going to be your OCS tutor, and she is going to share her screen, and she's going to be taking you through the first half of the OCS pre-scene for November 2023 and February 2024. And there'll be as well time for some questions at the end as well. Okay. And that's basically all I think I have to say. So obviously, if you want to access part 2 of the pre-scene analysis, you're going to have to become a member of the course, or you're going to have to become an All Access member. So if you want to unlock the rest of Viva's course for the OCS for November 2023, that's what you'll need to do. But today's session is free and you're very, very welcome. So I'm going to pass you over to Catherine. And Catherine, I think...
Hello.
There's Catherine. Yes.
Hello. Okay. Hi. Can you see my screen? Okay.
I can see your screen. Okay. Yeah.
Brilliant.
And just you might check the audio levels as well, Catherine, just to make sure everyone can hear you. So again, everyone in the chat, if you could just say that you can hear Catherine clearly,
can you hear me okay, everyone?
If it's a little bit low, you can tell her as well.
Is that okay? Hi, everyone. Hi, good morning. Brilliant. Okay, that's great.
Okay, that's great. Okay, I'm gonna drop out now, Catherine. So all the best and take care, everyone.
Okay, thank you, Hugo. So good morning, everyone. My name's Catherine, as you can see. I'm here to look after you for your operational case study exam. Okay, I've been teaching this subject for a long time for different tuition providers and across the world. I'm also a operational case study marker for CIMA. I helped to write the P1 exam for CIMA, CIMA qualified myself, been a teacher for many years. Okay, so obviously this is your first big written exam. Okay, and we're going to go through the pre-scene just halfway, just with some thoughts and some insights and some things that you might be thinking about for the real exam. Okay, so in the past, the case study's been on things like chocolate companies, and there was one about trainers, there was one about trains. What else was there? There was one about rental cars. Okay, but this one's on protein shakes. Okay, so we're going to go for about an hour, have a 5-minute break, and then another hour, and then I'll leave time for questions at the end, if that's okay. So any questions you've got, write them down and we'll do them all at the end. Okay, so yeah, so it's the first big written exam for you, a 3-hour exam. You can do it at home, you can do it at your local centre, it doesn't matter, but it's quite a time pressured exam. You'll have a copy of this case study in the exam that you can click on. However, the more you know it and the more you know the detail of it, it helps you write better answers, because it's all about application. Okay, they know you know your theory because you've either passed or exempt from P1, E1, F1. Okay, so they know that you're technically very strong now. What they wanted to know now is, can you apply that knowledge? Can you use linear programming knowledge to explain why it would help this company? Or can you explain what the decision tree is showing you and what's the benefits of using it? Okay, so it's application of that theory that we're going to learn in this. Okay, so this is the exam for November 23, Feb 24. It's going to be the same case study. Don't be put off by its length. You'll know it inside out by the end of your own when it comes to the exam. There's no calculations on the case study, so you won't be expected to calculate anything in the exam. So your techniques now are going to be explaining, defining, knowing the benefits and the drawbacks, writing enough in the time. And if you join us for our courses, we do mock practice, and we do intensive sessions on how to write and how much to write, and you'll get our team of markers as well. Okay, so yeah, we're doing protein bars, protein shakes, but it's all just a tool to to test, can you apply your knowledge to a real company? Okay, so this is my annotated version, and you'll get access to this when you join up as well. So here we go, page 1 or page 2 even. So this is your role. So you're a finance officer. So you've really got to believe you actually work at this company now. Okay, so you're always a finance officer at operational level. And the point about that is you are not expected to make any strategic decisions or to be thinking about the longer term direction of the company. It's more about you're there to assist and to help and to explain, and to, and in the exam, you'll get emails from the directors or from the finance managers that are asking, I've received this variance analysis. Can you explain what it means and why it's happened, or things like that? Okay. So like I've put there, the verbs you'll see in the exam, the most common one is explain. Okay. And there's ways to do that. So you make it clear, you give an example, and so on. And this pre-scene analysis will help with that. Okay. Another thing you can do to make you get a real feel for working at this company is to look at real world examples. So 3 that sprung to mind that are similar to this type of company are Grenade and Huel and MyProtein. Okay, MyProtein particularly, if you're joining me on Sunday night, we're going to do an industry analysis where I'm looking at detail at MyProtein. and other parts of the industry. Okay, but we work at personal best. Okay, so just like CIMA's done, once you've written out once in brackets, you can put PB, and then in the exam, you've saved a bit of time writing PB each time. Okay, so you're doing management accounting information. Okay, and that's just reminding you that P1 is your lead paper here. Okay, so F1, E1, very important, and whole sections of the syllabus are from them. But P1 is the driver here. Okay, so get your P1 knowledge refreshed alongside revising for this course. Okay, and then below it says, as well as management accounting, you'll be doing prep of the financial statements. Okay, so you need to know your IASs and your IFRSs, leasing, PPE, how to account for stock, all that stuff. Okay, as well as the other parts of F1, which are working capital. So you could be asked about receivables, payables, inventory policies, cash management, things like that. And then E1 as well, there's things like KPIs, key performance indicators, come up on every single exam. Okay, so that's often a good 9 marks to get in the bag from an E1 perspective. And again, we'll be teaching you how to write them when you do the mocks later on in the course, if you stay with us. Okay. So roles of a finance officer, the kind of things you could be asked about in the exam. Budgets will be on every paper. So you need to know the types: zero-based, activity-based, incremental, fixed, flexible. Because you know budgets are coming up, cover them to death. Remember, we're talking explaining pros and cons, the steps to do those budgets, whether it would benefit this company, rather than calculations in this exam. Okay, we've got variance analysis on every paper. So there's only 2 topics, only 2 chapters of variances in P1. There are our cost variances like labour rate, labour efficiency, material usage, those ones. Okay, and then there is also your advanced or further variances, which are planning, operational, come up a lot. We've got, you've got, what else? You've got your sales mix, sales quantity profit variances come up a lot. So with you knowing budgets definitely come up, variances is definitely on. Those are topics you're going to cover to death alongside your prep for this exam. So you're going to get your P1 books out or your notes from VIVA. And just remind yourself of those key areas. Okay. And again, we said there'll be an IFRS or IAS question on the exam, and a working capital question on your exam. And there's always KPIs on every exam too. Okay, so yeah. Okay, and the best thing you can do for this exam, I really do mean this, is to practice, to get to join up, get some mocks, do it under time conditions, and you'll find the first one might go terribly wrong, and it like you'll run out of time and you'll really mess it up. But that's when you've done it once or maybe 3 times by the end. You'll be in such a better position compared to people who were sitting the first exam on the day and never done any practice at all. Okay, so that's not me pushing the courses, that's really what I believe. Practice is the one for this exam more than any other. So we're on to page 3 now. Okay, so these are my thoughts, my insights, things that stand out to me as I'm reading through it. Also links that I can see maybe that are going to be questioned in the exam, possible. So there's going to be 6 variants in the exam, 3 in November, 3 in February. Okay, so there might be like a bit of a hint that something's coming up, and it might not be on your variant, because when you sit your exam, there's 3 other exams out there, versions of the exam. So just because something looks likely to come up and you didn't see it, doesn't mean it wasn't on one of the other 6 exams or the other 5, 6 in total. Okay, and these are only ideas, but I have been doing this long time, years and years and years, and I do mark for them, so I do know the examiner, and I haven't got any insight on what's coming up, but they're quite, you know, you get a feel for these things, don't you? Okay, so personal best: manufactures and sells protein bars, protein powders. Okay, so manufacturer means we could be asked anything about production, efficiencies, costing for production, things like that. And then the selling bit means we could be asked about retailing, sales variances, pricing, marketing. So it's both ends, isn't it? Making it and selling it. Okay. Bars and powders at the moment, there are 2 products. Okay. And there's more about them later on where we look at a sales mix and so on. Okay. And our company is Sealand, which is a fictional company. Okay. But we're told it's in Europe. Okay. So in the past, CIMA have chosen it to be in Southeast Asia, places like that. They've chosen Europe for this one. So that we can get a feel for, you know, people's level of disposable income. They've probably got quite fast broadband. They probably have annual holidays. They'll have seasonal holidays. There'll be a Christmas time, and there'll be a, people have probably got their own houses, and we know how people live in Europe compared to other parts of the world. So even that's helpful because you can assume they kind of live as people do in the UK and so on. Okay, C dollar is currency. All your answers, not your answers, all the figures given to you will be in C dollars. We don't need an exchange rate for that. We just take it to be that's what how they sell their stuff. Okay, let me see what else do I need to say. Okay, so 5 years ago, quite a young company. Okay, so this seems to be a common theme with like Huel, Grenade, haven't been going long. And they're kind of a 3-lady startup here, Julia, Penny, Hema. Okay, and you'll see as we go through that they're absolutely committed to this business. Okay, so they believed in it. They were all at the gym to start with, and they were looking for this convenient snack that they could take, and it would help with their training and their protein intake. And so they started off by believing in the product, thinking there was a gap in the market, and creating it themselves. Okay, so all 3 decided. So there doesn't seem to be any decision-making problems at the moment. They're all on board. Okay, high protein and no added sugar. Okay, but needed to taste good as well. Okay, so these are like themes that I've written down the side here, the product and the concept. Healthy, convenient, high protein, low sugar. And as we go further down, we can see also diverse types and combinations. Okay, so a big wide range of products. Okay, so it wouldn't be unusual in the exam to, as a common trigger, we call it the trigger for the exam, would be we're doing a brand new cookie or a brand new type of milkshake, and then they'll ask you questions about how do we get the best cost for this, or use your payoff table to explain which supplier we should use. Okay, so this range of products, diverse combinations, is part of their what they're creating. Okay, they're going to use their ingredients to make it the best protein bar, personal best protein bar in their own kitchen. So I think you'll find that My Protein started in his own kitchen, on his kitchen table, selling out of the back of his car, and eventually sold the business for millions. Okay, so this is what they've not sold their business yet, but this is a common theme that people start making it rolls it out, gets more popular, and there's been some real success stories in this industry already in real life. Okay, some of these details like the 22 grams of protein and 14 grams of fiber, there's no need to learn them really, just see it's a high protein, healthy bar, hardly any sugar in it, quite low calorie, and it tastes fabulous. Okay, and you do get a copy of the pre-scene in the exam that you can click on at any time if you did want that detail, but it's such a high pressured fast exam, it'll be the quickest 3 hours of your life. Then the more you know about it, the more you get a feel for it. So the little details like how many grams of protein out of the 60, just to give you an idea, background. Okay, I put here though, however, if we did find that we didn't use 22 grams of protein for a 60-gram bar, if we use more, then that would lead to a variance analysis, wouldn't it? That would lead to a material usage adverse variance because we've used more protein than we're expected to per bar. Okay, so there's that. Okay, and I guess if those ingredients came in at a higher price than planned, that's a material price variance. Remember that from P1. Okay, so at the moment, they've got 10 amazingly differently flavored bars. So bars was their first product. Later on, they could add the powders, protein powders, but bars is their original offering. Okay, a bit more about the founders then. Okay, absolutely committed, invested in the product. Okay, trusted their instinct, all on board. They remortgaged their homes and invested their life savings, so they're absolutely on board with this idea. Okay, so all three of them started off as a small business between three of them, and they're growing and growing, and they've done well so far. Okay, in the early days, they worked 18 hours a day. Some of you in finance might know how that feels, but that's a lot of hours, isn't it? But they were doing everything, taking orders, deliveries, finding suppliers, making the bars themselves. One of them kept on her job as a marketing executive, but you'll see later she gives that up. And but she has used her expertise, as have them all, to work on the business. And you'll see that social media is a big part of this case study. Okay, and that's, if I compare that to past case studies, this stands out to me that CIMA, the examiner, wants you to know about social media and the importance of marketing through digital marketing, which is an E1 topic, isn't it? Okay, so you could be thinking of these key performance indicators. How do we know our social media campaign is going to be successful? We could do things like number of clicks per advert, number of, you can do bounce rate, how quickly people click on your website and come back off it because it's the wrong link. We could do number of votes in an opinion poll, or number of likes on Instagram or something like that. A measurable key performance indicator, and you usually ask for 3, that would help us measure how good our social media reach and our campaigns and our adverts are going, because it's so important to us, that strategy for marketing. Okay, so yeah, the gap in the market has been filled, and it mentions social media again, influencers, and you'll see that My Protein again have got some high profile collaborations with boxers, and this is also very industry relevant, that this is what they do. Okay, and the interaction as well as the social media with the protein bars, so I put similar to Grenade, fans are posting, sharing ideas, suggesting ways to adapt the bar to make it into desserts and things like that. And this is really what happens. And then you've got people almost like marketing for you. Your users are participating and chatting, communicating, liking, sharing, giving more ideas, expanding your recipes in a way by making them into other things like fudge cake. So it's really getting the users on board, and that's all the way through, sewn through this pre-scene, that their involvement is so important to you. So you want to monitor that, and that's one of their critical success factors, that our marketing is good and strong and our online presence is super. That's page 3. Oh, there we go, page 4. Okay, so first protein bars were sold at gyms. This is like our route to market now, our sales channel. Okay, yeah, and we contacted the founders and asked them to stock the products. Okay, so growth was so rapid that we needed new premises and additional machinery had to be acquired. Okay, so you could be thinking about, is this an F1 area? Is there a bit of over trading possible if they grow too fast? Or you could see this is like, what a super success. They really have found a gap in the market. And this is like, it was started off strong from day one. They believed in the product, remortgaged their houses. 2 of them gave their jobs up, and it looks like it paid off almost straight away for them because the growth was so rapid. Oops, sorry. I put at the top, a potential exam scenario is we get a new deal, maybe an exclusive deal with a gym chain, and we have to decide, should we just deal with them, or perhaps our new strawberry bar or something might just be sold to that chain, and we'd have to think of the effect on the other customers and whether they'd be upset if we just dealt with one exclusive deal. And you might be asked about the pros and cons of doing that. Okay. So the gyms is working well because it's the same, it's both in the fitness industry. This is a fitness consumable product, isn't it? And the gyms are where you do your fitness, so they both get the same customer type. So it's a really good, obvious way to sell them. Okay, first year now we've got 16 flavors. Okay, 6 more second year. Limited editions. So I'm not sure if you follow things like this, but like I have these like yogurts. We have like there's a Christmas one that comes out, and there'll be, you know, I don't know, a seasonal one, rhubarb one will come out for summer, and then they take it off the shelf again. And it's kind of a way to keep the range fresh and people interested, and people buy it when they see it. It's a limited edition, so that means you go in and out. Some of these flavors are not available all year round. Keeps it fresh, keeps people interested, doesn't it? Okay. Then we've got by year 3, then we're adding protein powder. So bars so far, and powder comes year 3. And now we do both at the moment. Okay, another outstanding success. So they diversified into a related product, bars, powder, both of them doing super. Okay, smooth and creamy, delicious. There's our link to quality and flavour and being a good product. And we've got tens of thousands of devotees. Okay, revenue growing rapidly. The sales are doing really well. And they realise it's now time they've got to recruit other people like themselves to help. So basically it's getting too big for them just to do it between the 3 of them. They're now moving into a formal company type setting where they're recruiting, and you'll see other directors join them. Okay, but then it's important when they are recruiting, anyone who's in a leadership role, or I guess anyone who works there, needs to be, you know, on board, enthusiastic. They're quite a young team, these directors, and you're getting the feel that they absolutely believe in the product. So they don't want anyone just turning up 9 to 5 and just doing the job. They want someone who's really committed, just like they are. Okay. So I put here potential exam scenarios. So you've seen how bars became powders and what success that was and how revenue grew from that. So it would be a common exam trigger that another product type, so not another flavor, but another product type is introduced, maybe ready meals, or maybe let me think, like salami type snacks, or maybe a range of I don't know, there's all sorts of proteins you can get, like seaweed protein, things like that. And they could introduce that in the exam and say, we're doing a new range of seaweed protein. And then I ask you not about, you wouldn't need any knowledge particularly about seaweed protein. It's just a tool to be able to ask you, you know, we've got a new seaweed factory and we're going to make some machinery for it. And how would you capitalize the machinery, or would it be expensed? So the seaweed protein is just a trigger to ask you that type of question. Mentioned the possible with them growing so fast and with working capital being on every exam, we could be looking at an over trading situation here where revenue goes really high and you haven't really got the capital or the finance to support that. And you'll see later on when we do the financials in day 2 of the pre-scene analysis that they were overdrawn up to last year. So that's possible what happened to them. Okay, and they've all got the specialisms and they work smoothly and well. Got no idea whether they're risk averse or risk seeking or anything like that, or whether they're risk neutral. But at the moment, decision making seems to be all on board, same direction. But again, you might find in the exam that one person doesn't want to take risks and one person does, and you might have to talk about, you know, risk seeking personalities, risk averse personalities, and on what methods, P1 type methods they use, like expected value for risk neutral and so on. Okay, we've got Julia. Let me think. We've got Hima's an engineer. She's the MD. Okay, Julia's the finance director, so head of your team. Penny's the sales and marketing director. Okay, and they're the 3 founders. See pictures of them in a bit, and I think you got the feel now. They're all committed, all totally on board. I'm not sure if it's happened yet, but all 3 of them have eventually given the jobs up to work full time. The marketing one was last to join, but all of them are using all their skills they've got from other parts of the industry to totally work on the business and make it the best they can. Okay, so impressive growth, 2 main product types by year 3, great profits reported, a good success story for a small business. Okay, so all I'm thinking now is sustaining that growth is going to be difficult. Hopefully they can get their company and their directors and their internal controls and their formal, more corporate formal arrangements in place to keep up with that growth. Otherwise, they might find themselves in problems. And but there's no need to be upset by that growth. It's really, really successful so far, isn't it? Okay. It's just sustaining it and not finding yourself with production constraints or limitations of any sort. Okay. So planning and decision making is part of management accounting, isn't it? So planning for this kind of growth is important. Okay, we're now going to be on page 5. Okay, mission statement and ethos. Okay, so the mission statement: to help all customers to achieve their own personal best and live their best life. Okay, so that word best stands out. So they want you to think that the ultimate quality, they're excellent. Okay, they've used their brand name in their mission statement. That's a clever move there. And reminding people personal best, being your best, is perhaps using personal best products and eating their protein or drinking their drinks. Okay, even the mission statement though shows the belief and that you can be your best self. Okay, and it's kind of a continuous improvement culture, even as an individual. Can you be better? Can you be fitter? Can you be stronger? Can you be leaner? And kind of aligning that with people's wants. Everybody wants to be thinner and stronger and leaner, don't they? So it's kind of aligning their products with your own personal goals. Okay, and that's part of their success, this mission statement. Okay, so next we see the website, and there's clips of the website later. But it's not just about selling the products, although they do sell the products on the web directly, as well as elsewhere. But they've got fitness advice, they've got ingredient information, prizes. Later on, you'll see they've got opinion polls, they've got chat rooms. It's a real place where they want users to hang out, to visit them. Alongside, there will be adverts and pop-up bars and a place to buy the bars, but it's about, you know, getting the brand in people's minds, making them think we're a friendly, cultured, you know, helpful to each other, getting people involved. It's not just a place where you go to click on and buy something. There's lots and lots on there. So the website functionality, again, just like the social media, it's going to be important. So you wouldn't want any downtime on that. You could be asked things like, you know, what big data we could get from the website. And we could be thinking about, could we have a personal best app? We haven't got one at the moment. Other case studies in the past have had one. Okay, so this could be something the examiner is going to introduce in your case study. It'll say that it's a new personal best app. And you might want to talk about the benefits of having an app, what data we need and what steps and what extra costs, getting a consultant in, the license fee for putting it on the App Store, what kind of extra costs might be for that. And then there's part of P1 that is the difficulties of costing an app compared to costing a product. Okay, so I don't know if you remember that part of P1, but that's the question you could ask you. What's different about costing an app compared to costing our protein bars? And there's all sorts of differences, isn't there? Like there's no materials goes into an app, but there's lots of upfront costs and things like that. Okay, so Grenade has social media competitions held on its website. So that's like a real world example. Whoever's written this for CIMA, the examiner, would have, you know, been researching this, thinking this is what this kind of company does. So this is very realistic. Okay, so we've had quality products, good range, healthy, high protein, low sugar. That's one theme. Okay, we've got the theme that everyone who works there is totally committed, and the growth. Okay, we've got the theme of the social media, how important that is and how big the website is to them. Okay, and now we're getting another theme that you'll see goes all the way through in real life and in the case study is sustainability and environmental thoughts. Okay, so anything that you suggest in the exam, make sure it fits those themes: quality, sustainability, fits with the social media idea, because it helps your answer become more applied. Okay, so sustainability, when you've got, it's kind of a terminology that you see. So when you've got a word like that, you should know what it means. You should be able to explain it. Have seen the Maskey once for KPIs to measure sustainability. So you could do a bit of research on that kind of topic in this kind of company to see how do we measure are we sustainable? Are we able to trade without depleting resources for future generations? Are we able to put back anything we take away from the environment? Okay, so part of that is the ingredients, ethically and sustainably sourced. So you might be thinking seasonal products, you might be thinking about ethically. Are we getting them from local farmers? Are we paying a good price for them? Yeah, things like that. Okay, we started off as offering good credit terms. Okay, so that's going to put a pressure on cash, isn't it? But relationships with suppliers are seen as vital to our success. Okay, so we need to look after our suppliers to help us with this sustainable sourcing. Okay, another bit of terminology here, carbon neutral. So again, you could be having a Google what that means, how to become carbon neutral, what kind of things this company could do to offset their carbon footprint. Okay, and some examples are coming up that they want to source locally. So that's about supplier miles. Okay. That means keep, less travel for the products. So they're trying to choose things that could be bought locally rather than flying them in or shipping them in from far away in the world where they can. Okay. The big flag for sustainability, apart from knowing what it means, making sure any suggestions you make fit with that, is don't know if you remember the CIMA cost transformation model on P1. The 6 principles. There's things like risks of a cost-conscious culture. But one of the 6 principles is sustainability and environmental, how important it is and how it's a false economy to cut the environmental element out. It's better to invest in being carbon neutral and to being environmentally friendly, even if it costs you a bit more, because in the long run it will pay back, because customers care about it, because there's going to be taxes on plastic soon in Europe. And investing in environmental policies is one of CIMA's 6 principles from their transformation model. And this seems to be such a small part of P1, but it does come up all the time in operational case study. And it catches people out because if you can't remember it from P1, then it's hard to write about it because you need to know those 6 principles. So where are we now? Okay, so your big flag for environmental sustainability, and you're going to take time to understand what they could do to make that happen and how they'd measure it and why it's important. Okay. And an exam scenario could be that they're going to source more local suppliers because that would help with their carbon neutral by reducing supplier miles. Okay, so they've already got their raw peanuts now, not from South Africa anymore, South America, sorry, coming from Europe. And peanut butter is one of their main products you'll see later that goes into their bars. Okay. Okay, the industry. So we'll see the industry's gone from kind of a niche market, weightlifters and bodybuilders, to a more general diet and fitness market. So it turns out some of the low calorie things that you think were good for you weren't actually good for you. They were high sugar and so on. And maybe calorie counting wasn't the way forward, that there's these ideas of a keto diet. And yeah, I know someone in my family really lost loads of weight on that. Not that I'm recommending it, but it is a new thing, isn't it? You have high protein rather than just cutting calories. And it can be a way to lose weight, according to marketing. Okay, we send our body into ketosis. Again, there's a bit of health risk with that, I think, but this seems to be a big diet trend, isn't it? So this company is already set up to sell high protein products, so that's probably part of their growth. That the fashion is going that way towards high protein, and that's their product, isn't it? So they're matching their product already with the way the industry is going, which is great, which suggests there's going to have be more success. Okay, what else have we got? Okay, so yeah, as a result, the protein bar powder industry has grown rapidly. It's going to continue to grow for another 4 years at least. Okay, so that's looking good. We could be riding that growth, couldn't we, and making our revenue and profits even bigger if we get the right products and meet the right, market expectations. Okay, and European market growth reflects Sealand. Okay, so I feel that might be a flag, and it's a common thing in the exam that we'll suddenly move to a new country like D land or F land or Z land or something like that, and we'll start selling in a different part of Europe. And then again, it's just a tool for the examiner to say, right, we're going to set a new factory up. Which costs should we capitalize? Or we've got a project to set a new place up in, I don't know, a B land. Here's a relevant costing schedule. Can you tell me which of these costs are relevant to the decision to set up in the new country? Okay, so the country is like the trigger, a new product, a new country, or some other potential exam scenario. And it's just a way for the examiner to ask you technical questions on that. And you can get past papers, and you'll see we've got some realistic mocks prepared for you as well to practice this stuff. Okay, yeah, so the market is in two areas, we're told, powder, bars, and there's 2 pages, and it is very long, this pre-scene. It's about 5 pages longer than the others. So it's a good job we've got 2 days to cover it. But yeah, so this is the powder. It can be hard to when you're taking all this information in. So this is the powder market for our country, Sealand. 3 big companies, us, Mega Builder, and Protein In. Okay, so it's a 3-way split, and then there's some other excuse me, sellers as well. So we're the smallest of the big 3 powder companies. Okay, so how could we take some market share from the others? Maybe new flavors, better branding, a new type of powder, something like that. Okay, the market for the powder is 30 million. Okay, and it's expected to grow at 5% a year. Okay, so there's definitely room for us to get some more sales and profits, and even take from the other 3 companies if we can think how, and maybe become market leader, because at the moment we're the smallest, at least we're one of the big 3 though. Okay, again, then protein bars. Okay, this one is more fractured, and this is true in real life industry, and more competitive. It's easier to enter this market. People are starting on the kitchen tables perhaps, and they're able to get out, get their range in the shops quite quickly, or into gyms and so on, or independent stores. So there's a lot of choice in this market, more fractured, as in lots and lots of suppliers and competitors in this one. Okay, it's a more wider appeal than protein powder. So maybe powders for proper gym people, and people are serious about fitness, whereas bars can be had by anybody. And yeah, there's a diet bars, and there's workout bars, and all sorts of types of bars. So lots of products, lots of competitors in this one. The revenue is bigger because of the more popular appeal, presumably. But again, we've got 20%, I think, here we go, 20% of that market is us as well. So we have 20% of the powder, we're one of the big 3 powder companies. And then we've got 20% of this market, which is bars as well. We do the pre and post workout segment. It says above, there's a diet bar, a keto bar, snack bars. We could expand our profits by creating a new type of bar in a different category. Maybe keto bars seem likely in the exam or something like that. So we could do a quick calc. So it's a 156 is the market in 2022. And we get 20% slice of that. Okay, so 20% times by 156 I've written there. It's like 31.2 million revenue from bars, according to if those figures are right, according to this. Okay. So yeah, if we are going to have a new bar, there's risk and uncertainty, isn't there? A new keto bar, is it going to be successful? And we could be asked, a payoff table. Whether we order loads of bars or the ingredients just for a few, or should we? And they might give you standard deviation figures and ask you which is most risky and things like that to help you make a decision about the new bar or something like that. Okay. Another potential exam scenario is we have a deal with a supermarket, and we do sell through supermarkets, but we could get a new deal, maybe one of these new types of supermarkets, like Aldi and Lidl have come famous recently, haven't they? things like that. Okay, so we sell direct and through retailers, you see. Okay, so now when we see the purple, that is extracts from their website. Okay, so this is like interesting and helpful, but the first few pages have been written in kind of an objective viewpoint by CIMA, and like, this is what's happened, this is true. Whereas this is from their website, so this is how they want you to portray, to portray themselves to their customers. Okay, so this is like going to be a little bit marketing spiel in this bit from them because it's their website. Okay. So yeah, be your personal best. Purple logos, you can see the branding. So we said already, KPIs for websites, downtime, bounce rate, number of clicks, number of votes, number of likes, number of shares, all those things are measurable metrics and KPIs on every exam, remember, to be able to think of them in any area of the business. Okay, we can see this collaboration with celebrity. Again, this is something that happens, like I said, My Protein. We're going to deal with that on Sunday. But celebrity influencers or famous chefs or something like that, it seems to be a way to get noticed by the kind of person who uses this kind of product, which seems to be kind of millennials and that kind of people, well, all ages. But if you get the right influencer, you can get a lot of attention, can't you? Because people follow these people, and it fits with the social media strategy. So co-founder stays heavily involved. She's talking directly on this webpage to the people. So it's like that, even though they're getting bigger and bigger, they're keeping that personal touch, that Penny talks to you and is interested and still invested in the business. It's not just like they sit and play golf all day and take the profits away. They really care about the place. Online community where people can talk, advice, answers, questions on nutrition. Okay, as you get bigger and bigger, can Penny cope with all this work? Maybe it won't be Penny, maybe it'll be a team of marketing underneath, but they need to keep the culture, don't they? They need to keep the feel that you're talking to the owners. Otherwise, they'll lose that personal touch if they're not careful, if they outsource the marketing to somebody else and it doesn't quite go the same as it has done because it's part of their success strategy. They could expand into fitness, maybe fitness clothes. They could expand into fitness, they could launch a range of gyms themselves, maybe if they get big enough. Quite an intense capital investment that would be, but there are ways they could use their brand and go into unrelated diversified products. So not just another flavor that you can eat or another, like a ready meal. They might actually go a little bit further out and do like clothing range, like My Protein have. Okay. And I've said it before as well, and a PB app seems likely, and how you cost for that and what data you could get from that and what's the difficulties of costing for an app, all comes up regularly in CIMA OCS. And another one from the website made me think about big data, which is a part of your E1 syllabus and your P1 syllabus. Recently, there was a case study question, how do you use big data for budgeting? Okay, and then we were marking for the exam, and the examiner said to us, give them some marks for knowing what big data is, but only the best answers will answer, how do we use that data particularly for budgeting and planning and forecasting? And it was like that like refined question that made you think on the spot. And that's what we're going to practice when we're doing the mocks, which is why the mocks are so important, and the practicing really is. Okay, so it's reading that question. So, but big data is something we could collect with this website, and big data analytics is part of CIMA syllabus, isn't it? Okay, more from the website then. Our products, okay, so bars and powders, we know that. Say they're unique. Are they? I was thinking, are they really unique? Are they not easily copied? So if they are, they need to be, if they haven't got a secret recipe locked down or something, they need to make sure they're unique in other ways with their brand, with their personal touch, with their logos and things, and that's what they're doing. Okay. Each serving satiates, blood sugar stable. Okay, so I put, you have to be careful when making medical claims. Are they sure that there's no blood sugar spikes coming from their bars? They could have ethical problems if they haven't got a doctor to verify that, if that's just a marketing antidote, and they actually haven't tested that medically. Hopefully they have. Okay, and there has been scandals in the protein powder markets where, people have said things about the bars, and it turns out the bars weren't as good as they thought. They've got more sugar in or less protein than they advertised, and so on. Okay, and then more from the website. So they've got the 3 products. Is the bars are peanuts and almonds, should be an L there, I think CIMA's missed that, and cashew. So 3 nut bars, okay, and the powders as well. Okay, so the regularly updating, we said before, limited time, keeps the range fresh, innovative, people are interested, and so on. Okay, so I did note to myself, peanuts and almonds, cashews are all nuts, and they are major allergens. So we need to be careful with contamination, clear labeling, ethical sourcing. You wouldn't want to be mixing up nuts into something that shouldn't have nuts in, like the powders maybe, because people are highly allergic to these nuts, aren't they, sometimes? Okay, they've won awards as well. This seems to be a thing in the industry. Personal best, no, sorry, but My Protein have won awards, best startup company, best partnership with Hotel Chocolat. So these awards are important, and it's a good way to market as well, isn't it? Okay, and they can put those badges on the website and so on. We sell through gyms and other retailers now in packs of 10 or individually, or by the website directly. And you see there's a click to shop, so you could measure how many clicks people went on. Did they buy the product? If not, why not? Maybe the pricing is wrong if they clicked it and didn't buy. Okay, and I've got here as well. So we sell our bars through the gyms and retailers, as well as directly. And you'll see later on when we look at the costing in part 2 of this, that the bars sold via the retailers are less profitable and a lower selling price than when we sell them directly to the customer via our website, because obviously those retailers want to mark up the bars and make profit on them. So we need to give them at a trade price, don't we? Sell them at a trade price to the third parties so that they can mark it up to sell it to the customer. I think so, yeah. Receivables management I put as well, with us having a range of retailers. There are big B2B customers, business to business customers. So they probably want long credit terms, big orders being placed, different type of customer than perhaps selling individually to people's houses and people ordering them like just 10 at a time. Could find that there's a problem with getting the money from these big customers. Big supermarkets and so on are notorious for not paying their customers, their suppliers straight away. So you might be thinking about F1, early payment discounts, factor companies, invoice discounting, cash deficits. Should we use an overdraft or should we use a factor company? Came up in August. Things like that. Again, quality, powdered, dreamy. We've got the idea of that, I think. It's just this is repeating this to the customers. The best thick, creamy milkshake. And it's that they wouldn't want to cut costs and make that anything worse than it is, or not to to save money on a blending machine and make their creamy milkshake have bits in it or anything horrible like that. Cutting costs at the expense of quality wouldn't be a good idea for this company. Again, high quality whey powder. That's a type of milk, I think. It's locally sourced. There's the environmental flag. And I was thinking here, so we've got 3 types of bars: peanuts, almond, cashew, and powders. We've already got ourselves a sales mix, a predetermined sales mix. They're going to know how many they're going to sell of each in their budget, which we see later. And a predetermined sales mix comes up in P1, comes up as sales mix and quantity variances. If you remember them? If we deviate from that mix, how many bars, how many powders we think we're going to sell, and one's more profitable than the other, that can cause a sales mix variance. Also, for a multi-product break-even analysis, do you remember that? Cost, volume, profit. They often give you a graph in the exam, which is done for a range of products, and a multi-product break-even situation would also fit with a predetermined sales mix, which is like the number of products that you sell in the planned quantities. Okay, more mentions suppliers and relationships being important and local suppliers. Okay. We'll just finish the website bit and then we'll have a 5 minutes break. Okay, then here's the pictures of our founders, the 3 women. So yeah, so the young, dynamic, energetic, you've got the feeling in this now, they love this company, they're absolutely invested. We find out more about their backgrounds, their mini CVs. This being having a purple header does still mean that it's their website, so it's their marketing they're putting out there. So we're not going to put anything bad out there. But it looks like the HEMA, the MD, is actually a mini celebrity herself. She was in the Olympic Games. Okay, used her engineering skills to create machinery. Okay, so she's committed, dynamic, a mini celebrity, absolutely enthusiastic, but she's not a finance person. So she might need you to explain, what's this linear programming graph showing me? Or what's this, why can't we capitalize these expenses? Or which costs of these are relevant? Okay, so she's isn't an accountant, but she could email you in the exam asking you accountancy type questions. Okay, also, I notice here there's 3 directors, and later on you'll see there are production director and things like that. But still, as the company grows, you'll notice all the directors here are executive directors. They all work on the business, okay? And so do the ones on the next few pages. None of them are non-executive directors. So remember this, N-E-D, non-executives. And you might be asked a corporate governance types question, which derives from F1E1 knowledge. It's like, would we benefit from having a non-executive director or more than one on the board? Would we have a chairman? Could we have some expertise from the industry that doesn't work for the company, that gives an independent viewpoint? And that gets asked quite a bit. Non-executives and corporate governance. Okay. Finance, this is Julia, your boss. Qualified as accountant, so we kind of trust, she gives you some figures, you can trust the right. All she needs you to do often is explain them or add some notes for the meeting that she's going to, because she hasn't had time to do the full explanations. She was overweight too. This is just all underpinning how committed they are and how much they believe in the brand. Okay, and then sales marketing director, a real high flyer. They call her a powerhouse. She was like super job before she was 30, endless energy, enthusiastic. And she's the one you talk to on the website, and she's Penny's page, isn't it? And she's got a real feel for the business. Wouldn't want any of these 3 to leave, but it doesn't look like they're leaving at any time now. What else can I say about this? Yeah, high flying, energetic, looking ways to grow the business, new markets, new products. But again, she's not accounting background, so she might be asking you advice. She's received a payoff table from Julia. Julia's busy with auditors now, can't speak to you. So can you explain to Penny what the payoff table is showing me and what we'd choose if we were a maxi-max type decision maker or something like that? Okay, so she's interested, but not financially, technically qualified like you guys are. Okay, so they're really pushing this about the website and about Penny and about how committed they all are. This is celebrity collaboration, Della Moss. Okay, best known TV presenter in Sealand, and how she did her weight loss. Okay, so we're not sure if she's being paid for the role or she's a genuine fan. She might be paid for her time or whatever to do the interview. And then we could be asked to turn this technical rather than just interesting stuff. We could ask, like, forecasting, like how influential has Della Moss been to our sales? If we got a new celebrity, or if Della Moss put the weight back on or something like that, or she got seen eating a Mars bar, not a protein bar, in the papers, would it affect our sales? And what, could we trust a time series analysis based on past sales if things like Della Moss isn't supporting us anymore? Okay, so once she regains the weight, how does that affect our forecasting techniques? Okay, there's click to listen to the full interview, so they could measure people who've read that paragraph and how many people clicked, because it shows how many people are interested for more. And if those clicks fall, it might be time to get a new celebrity collaborator. Opinion polls. So it says thousands of you replied. We're not sure if that's true. Remember, this is the website. Going to give their best, reflection of themselves. But it says thousands of them clicked. So that's like real interactive. people what they wanted and what flavors they're thinking about. So we're consulting our users so they feel involved and, you know, they support our brand. And by knowing what they want, by doing these polls, it does remove some of the uncertainty we've got for new products. If we know, I think later on there's a coconut bar or something, we know how likely it is to be popular. So it kind of reduces our risk a little bit by knowing what people want. So they voted for a biscuit, a vegan range, and those are the two things that are discussed in the notes at the back of the pre-scene, which we'll do on day 2. Okay, but they're just 2 possible new products. I think My Protein do a cookie. A lot of them do cookies as well as bars now. Vegan seems to be a way that's going, but we'd have to get rid of our whey protein powder. We'd need to make it with something else, and a vegetable-based powder. And it would also fit people who are lactose intolerant, so people are allergic to milk and so on, if we did a vegan range. Okay, we're working on raising our finances. So again, you'll see when we look at the financial analysis, they have paid their overdraft off, but they're not keen to take on any more loans or so, and it doesn't seem like anyway. So you could be thinking F1, how do we manage the cash deficit? How do we get short-term investments? How important is cash flow forecasting for us? Could we get any money from our working capital by factoring or invoice discounting? Managing our receivables better. Okay, so there's that. And it looks like we haven't promised our customers. We've got the results, biscuits and vegan are what we're looking at. We're just pausing for time, aren't we, by saying we're raising our finances to do that. Maybe making them think, oh, if we buy a bit more, they might start this new biscuit range as well. Okay. What else we put here? Yeah, so the website's a communication tool. Any bad news or any good news, they could put it on there. And, you know, so you could suggest we need to announce this ethical problem immediately on our website so that our users know that we aren't involved with this supplier scandal. So it's a communication tool as well, isn't it, that we can suggest in the exam. Mention time series about how past sales and past successes aren't always good for forecasting the future. And that's something you might be asked to talk about. And time series analysis is using past sales over time as a forecasting tool and the pros and cons of that. As we got. Okay, answers and advice. Okay, so another flag for the environment. What specific actions do we do to reduce waste and harm? Okay, so this is like addressing questions. Again, like making sure that the people who are interested in this bar seem to be very, very environmentally friendly as well on the whole. So for example, local peanut sourcing, that's the supply miles, isn't it? And then we're also careful with wastage, and we never go to landfill. So that's like the recycling and reusing things. Selling our peanut skins to farmers and to local animals, bird feed. So we're using every part of the natural product that we use. And a healthiness, small amount of salt. Okay, there's multiple ethical angles I've put on this little tiny page here of salt, the health thing, the farmers. We know farmers suffer with money problems, don't we? And that we need to treat them well and pay them a good price. You've heard about supermarkets, how they pay really low prices for milk and the farmers can barely afford to live. We've got supplier sourcing locally for the number of travel miles and carbon neutral. We could be thinking about a just-in-time inventory policy because we're getting these suppliers locally, and that comes up later too. And then I put here P1 joint product costing. So I've never seen that examined yet in case study, but it doesn't mean it won't be, because anything P1 can be on the case study. And it just made me think about it that we use the peanuts as our main product, but then we've got these skins and these hearts as almost like byproducts or secondary products. And you could be asked a kind of relevant costing, joint product costing question that says, should we further process the bird feed or whatever? And here's some costs relating to that. Are we best to, how would we split the joint product cost to start with? Is it worth wrapping it up and packaging it compared to the selling price that we get for it? And that bit of relevant costing knowledge or joint product costing could be to do with this product that splits into 3. Okay. Yeah, should we have a 5-minute break and then come back at 11:15? Okay, so I'll put myself on mute for a minute. I'll see you at 11:15. And we'll be on page 13 then. So hi guys, I think we're back. We had a little comfort break there. Okay, so like we said, we're going to just do the first half of the pre-scene. Questions at the end if you've noted any down, and we'll continue looking at our annotated version. Okay, so so now we're on page 13, key management teams. Okay, so you'd be forgiven to think when you saw the pictures of the directors, there's only 3 of them. But in fact, like it says at the beginning, they've had to recruit like-minded, energetic, enthusiastic directors and become more of a formal company. So there's a distribution director, a production director, finance, and as well as, you know, the main ones, and one of those is the finance one. Okay, so Ben, production director. Okay, you'll see that it splits into cost centers. Okay, and he also looks after procurement, which is like purchasing of supplies and so on, isn't it? Okay, and he looks after maintenance. Okay, so he'd be very interested, Ben, in any kind of variance analysis, because material price variances could be Lisa's fault, procurement. Material usage variances could be one of the production people's faults. Well, not faults, or maybe they might be good variances, or maybe Lisa's bought some cheap materials and it's caused a production variance for one of the other departments. Okay, there could be fixed overhead variances that you asked about, but he's in charge of materials and production, isn't he? So either side. Okay, and then production being such a big part, we're told later on it's the most complex down here. Okay, the largest department, most employees there. Okay, so you'd be thinking this is key, another key part of the business, a big part of the business, and it needs to be efficient, it needs to be running well for us to meet demand and get our product out there, and it to be the quality that we want. We need to be thinking about manufacturing efficiencies and measuring that. So like I said, KPIs on every exam. Okay, and it's a one time you don't have the verb explain, or it's one of the occasions where you don't have the verb explain. You might get recommend or identify, but often the KPI question will say suggest 3 KPIs that can be used to measure, say, production efficiency, or 3 KPIs that can be used to measure the success of our new BlackBerry bar or whatever. Okay, so you're asked to actually think up KPIs from your own imagination. So that's something you can be doing in advance. And something to get good at. So how would you measure that production was efficient? So number of delays, number of breakdowns, number of quality rejects, things like that. Okay, so we see the costing. There's a syllabus section A on costing, and we're split into cost centers. Okay, so possibly ABC might be a better way to, might be a way to share overheads to the products based on different activities, depending. What they do in powder is quite different to what they do in the bar production. Okay, we want to make significant improvements to the peanut butter department, but we are mentioned again, we've got financial constraints. So maybe we are overtrading a bit. Maybe our receivables are getting a bit heavy. And you'll see when we do the financial analysis, it does seem to be our debtor days or our receivable period is getting longer and longer. And we've got a lot of money tied up that we could do with collecting from our customers. Okay. Another way to make these improvements is perhaps we take on a lease. Okay, and leasing and the right to use an asset and that kind of financial reporting is often questioned. Again, no calcs. You'll be given the numbers, but you'll need to explain how would you account for the lease, like based on the fact that the payments are made up front or the interest rate that's implicit in that lease. And you'd have to use those figures given to you to explain how personal best would account for a lease of a product, of a new machine or whatever. So that's IFRS 16, comes up all the time. Okay, also F1, PPE, non-current assets. So you should know about impairment, the disposal proceeds. You should know about a depreciation policy, extending the useful life, things like that, because non-current assets comes up all the time, and you can see we keep getting mentioned about machinery, second-hand machinery, we need investment, and so on. So that's IAS 16 as well, isn't it? Okay, distribution then, Jack, finished goods and website sales, both under him. So one going out to retailer, one going out to the website people. I've put, there's no mention of quality inspection yet. Presumably there must be a quality inspection department, or there might be one set up somewhere in production before the product goes out. And perhaps quality inspections alongside a long way throughout the production process. We're told here, told here that it was impossible to produce and ship enough bars to satisfy demand. So that tells me they have had problems with capacity in the past. But usually, remember, sales demand is your limiting factor. You make as many as you can sell. But if you're short of materials or machine hours or something like that, then that can be a limiting factor, can't it? Or if you're short of more than one factor, you're short of two types of materials, or you're short of skilled labor and, I don't know, peanuts or whatever, more than one constraint, then you need a linear programming graph. You wouldn't have to draw it, but it's the examiner loves to put graphs in your exam. So you'd have to explain what the lines mean. How do you find the optimum production point? What's the axis stand for? You know, do you remember you move that line outwards to find where the constraints touch and the feasible region and all of that? So the fact that they couldn't meet demand straight away makes me think this could happen again. There could be production constraints, and you'd have to find a profit maximizing plan, how many to make in the short term, while you find the money to buy, you know, to increase the capacity eventually. Okay, so that's why I've put linear program somewhere, I think. Okay, yeah, perishable goods, just reminding you for things like inventory policy, storage, we wouldn't want anything to go out of date, have to be written off. IAS 2 in F1 about whether our net realizable value might become lower than our cost if our products are going out of date. We might have to sell them quickly or write them off even. And yeah, just be thinking about when we're talking about raw materials, that our raw materials are edible, perishable, and they need to be fresh as part of the quality, don't they? So it's going to affect our inventory policy, whether we can't just store masses of the stuff and just keep it there forever. Okay, finance, this is your team. So there's our founder, Julia. Okay, she'll do the strategic direction. That's not for you to worry about until you get to strategic level. And there is a case study exam at every level, management and strategic. But yeah, so Akida will be your direct line manager. And most of the emails in the exam will come from, I'm not sure if that's a lady or a man, but from them. And they might, you know, they'll send you a graph or a table or a list of costs, or ask you about whether you should change budgeting methods, and you'll write back to that. Okay, you're one of the two finance officers. You won't hear from them in the exam, but they are the same as you. You both kind of trainee accountants, aren't you, finance officers? Okay, helping those above. I've also written relatively small team. Okay, so when there's not many of you compared to past case studies, not that that matters about past case studies, but yeah, relatively small. So if they said, would ABC costing be useful for personal best? You might think to yourself, how you'd answer it would be, yes, there are benefits, and you explain them. Okay, maybe the overhead usages are different in powder versus protein bars and so on. But you could also say, there's not many of you in finance, isn't there? ABC costing is a lot of work to set it up, all the cost drivers, all the estimates, all the different, you know, resource drivers and so on. And there's only a few of you. There's only three. There's a three down here. 3 finance assistants and 2 officers. Could you really cope with a move to ABC costing? And that would be like a drawback that's case specific. In the case that's a really applied drawback that's not from the textbook, that you've thought about this case study, and there's not many of you to do something like ABC costing, or zero-based budgeting is another one. It needs a lot of finance help. So you should be like thinking the team's quite small. Gate sales and marketing, this is your high flying penny. Again, KPIs, think of sales and marketing KPIs. number of units sold, number of likes, whatever we said before, those things. Okay, extremely close. Again, it's split by website and retailer. You could have sales price variances going, Penny might be asking about them, or sales mix variances. She's been given the answer, like the table of variances, doesn't know what's caused them. Was it the discount that she gave, or was it the highly competitive market that we came across in a new type of product, things like that. Okay, yes, so they work closely as a team, and yeah, builds relationships, existing clients. So this is how important our customers are to us. And remember, we've got some big customers, supermarkets, things like that. So when we are thinking about managing that money and that receivables that we need from them, we could think about factoring services, whether that would be good for customers that we really care about. So we know that factor companies can be a bit aggressive with their chasing, can't they? Yeah, so we should think about customer relationships when we're making any suggestions in terms of picking our receivables up and so on. Perhaps early payment discounts will be more friendly, or invoice discounting where they're not aware we're using a different company to get the money. Okay, employee induction manual. Okay, overview of the manufacturing process. Okay, so this is written for the employees, and it tells you about each product: peanut butter, protein bars, and protein powder. So the butter isn't sold directly at the moment. It's used for to go into the bars. Okay. Again, all this information will be given to you in the exam, but it gives you a feel, doesn't it, that there's 4 big departments. Okay. Okay, they go through the oven, continuously roasted. I'll let you read of that. Okay, we're trying to avoid waste. You see that notice about avoiding waste and loss. They go through the blanching machine. What else you can see here is a sequence. So any delays, maybe if the blanching machine we missed the maintenance on it, or we've not got enough staff hours in that area, it will affect the rest of the production process, won't it? It'll cause delays, idle time, things like that. Could have a bottleneck from throughput costing. Do you remember that? And we might have to explain what the bottleneck is and what's a throughput accounting ratio mean. All be calculated for you, but it's you've got to explain it. So production needs to flow. I've put, that's what the arrows mean, doesn't it? They feed to each other. So we don't want any idle time or any bottlenecks or any delays and so on. So we need trained and motivated staff, regular servicing. And again, you can be thinking about KPIs to measure that, to make sure they're on track. Next, the butter goes into the bars. That's how I understand it anyway. Again, it's another sequence. You wouldn't want any delays in this. I've put maybe a flag for E1, total quality management, TQM, whether that, because it's so detailed and because quality is so important to them, could we be asked whether TQM would be a good system for this company? So you should know what it is, explain how it works and what the pros and cons of doing it would be. What's the benefits of it? Okay, I've also put, so we weigh and then we mix and so on. And I'm assuming that each time a new flavor is produced, there must be a full, like, clean down, setup and so on. Which makes me think about ABC costing. Number of setups, remember that, how you get these cost drivers. There could be that. So the ones with fruit on, once you finish with the fruit making, you'd have to start making a different flavor. There'll be a setup time for that. Okay, so that's ABC costing, a flag. And ABC costing does come up all the time. Okay, so you maybe need to explain what it is. Okay, or you might be asked the steps. How do we implement it? We need to get the cost pools, the cost drivers, work out a cost driver rate, then put it into the product, and whether there's good things and bad things of doing that. So know that list and apply it to this kind of situation. And then I've just put here this film, multi-layered film. I'm wondering whether that's plastic based, in which case that goes against environmental packaging, doesn't it? And maybe they'd be better doing that in paper or recycled cardboard. And that's something we talk about on our industry day on tomorrow night, isn't it? Our industry day. Doesn't say plastic, but I'm guessing with it being film, it probably is a form of plastic. So that's not environmentally friendly. And in the long term, I think Europe's going to be having fines for plastic usage for manufacturers. Then we've got our powder. Okay, less complicated. Okay, so we weigh it, we blend it. I think you've got to be careful with the quality with the powder having bits in it. Sieve, it's important. And it's attached. Okay, and then we put into pouches. Doesn't say again whether the pouches are metal or whatever, or plastic based. Perhaps they have to be, but how are we going to be offsetting our carbon neutrality if we're using plastic packaging and its its impact on the environment and so on? The logo, the flavour, or that's your marketing. Nutritional information, that's your ethical angle. This is what goes on in the industry as well, very important. Everything's labelled and explained well. Okay, packed into boxes, ready to sell. And that's the powder one on that page. Okay, I think we've got another 15 minutes before questions, so hang on to your questions. We're now on page 18, I think. There we go. Okay, so this is about all the information about the operations. Okay, so you're going to be experts at this company by the end of this exam period. Okay, so we've got a single production facility for the peanut butter, the peanut protein bars, and the other nut bars, and the protein powder, which hasn't got nuts in it, I presume, which makes me think about they must be very careful about cross-contamination with nuts being so allergic. Okay. Later on, I think we see that they're going to do a vegan product, and with powder having milk in it, they're going to do the vegan product in a separate location because of the worry about cross-contamination. Sure, you've probably seen on the back of packaging, it'll say this product has been made in a factory where nuts are made. So even though it hasn't got nuts in it, they're making clear that, if you're really allergic to nuts, probably best to avoid that product. And that's part of the ethical, corporate social responsibility element of this, and the quality element case. So again, I've put, don't be overwhelmed by the details, just to give you a good feel. Read it, a good read through once or twice, and the night before the exam as well of the pre-scene, but you do get a clean copy, electronic copy in the exam that you can click on any time when you're writing if you did want a fact out of any of this stuff. But knowing it well and how it works, it just helps your answers become more applied, stops you saying anything that's not appropriate. Like sometimes you'll see students will write, we need to ask the shareholders, or we need to be careful of the share price of this product, of this company, but you'll notice this company is not listed on the stock exchange at the moment. So if you talk about share price and share price going down, it means you haven't really read the pre-scene, you've misunderstood it in a way. So the more you know about it, the better. And things like the fact that whey powder's got milk in it or some kind of animal product in it means that at the moment they're not doing vegan at the moment. They have to change that whey to something else. Okay, so it's cheese, it says here, but it's not going to be suitable for vegans. Okay, but it's high quality, local suppliers. Okay, and they've got a few trusted suppliers for that one. Excellent relationships, so that you wouldn't want to be taking ages to pay them or to fall out with them. Okay, perhaps we could go to a just-in-time system with those, with them being local, with them being like strategic partners, trusted. Could we integrate our systems with theirs so that they know when we need more powder sending, and they could just send us exactly what we need to meet our demand rather than us having to store loads of excess powder, so just in time. That's from F1. Peanuts comes with an economic order quantity model. Okay, so the examiner has said where she's literally picked words out of the textbook for you, like incremental budgeting, like this EOQ model. She said in her exam reports, she's got no sympathy if you don't know what that is, how it works, what's the benefits of it, what assumptions are needed for the economic audit quantity model. because she's literally flagged it as clear as possible that could be a question. So you need to know, get your F1 book out and understand that EOQ model, because she's put that terminology in for you there. And you'd be thinking then, why does that work for peanuts? To order the best, it balances your holding costs, doesn't it? And your ordering costs. And it works for peanuts, but would a just-in-time model work better for peanuts? You could think about that. Okay. Almonds and cashews have to come in from Spain. Okay, so that is in Europe, isn't it? But the almond nut butter has to be imported from South America, Asia. So that goes against their environmental policy, doesn't it? Don't know what they can do about that. They could be looking for a local supplier, pay a bit more to make that locally. And we buy it in bulk. So I guess buying lots of it means we've got less number of deliveries, which is why economic order quantity wouldn't work for them as well, because we're buying in bulk. But that's okay because it's a long shelf life on those. Okay, so it's different inventory policy and purchasing method there. Powder, a technical mix. One single company knows how to do the powder. Imagine if we lost that company. That seems a bit risky, doesn't it? If it's chemistry, not cooking. Okay, so reliance on a single supplier could be risky. They could go bust or liquidate, and we haven't got a supplier of our powder anymore. Do we need to take that capability in-house? Do we need to do a budget stress testing analysis from P1 and think about, could we cope if we lost that supplier? What would we do? And make plans for that. Okay. Other raw materials, okay, for things like our salt and our berries, we've got a large number of suppliers, so multi-supplier strategy there for me1. Competitive prices, presumably we care about quality as well, but you could be asked a question about which supplier should we go to based on their working capital days. So they can sometimes show you their inventory days, their receivable days, their payable days, and you've got to discuss each supplier, saying this one looks a bit risky because this one's overdrawn, or this one seems to have lots of stock because its inventory days are high, but they could be going out of date. That kind of question. Okay. Or it could be a non-financial question. Which one suits us better? Do we care about the ethical company better than the cheaper company? Packaging, wrappers, pouches, retails. Okay. This is all part of the product differentiation, making our product stand out, logo, marketing, part of our strategy, isn't it? Marketing. And that's on our products. Okay. Yeah, so I've mentioned we could be asked about whether it's best to have one supplier or lots of suppliers. Could be asked about the inventory policy from F1, just in time, economic order quantity. Or we could be asked about budgeting for these people, or managing the payables side to paying them and extending their payable days and maybe putting pressure on our cash. Okay, just do a little bit more. Okay, we're now on to the top of page 19. Will be time for questions in a minute. Okay, so the we're noted here the budget types. Okay, so we're told the price of nuts, nut butters, and flavors can fluctuate in price due to exchange rates and whether they're out of season harvest yields and time of year and so on. So sometimes you can have things like vanilla once because there was a shortage of it and the price per kilogram went really, really high. So that's something that happens with natural ingredients and so on. You might have like a drought or a bad harvest or something. Okay, so that means the material price of our raw material ingredients can vary. So I was thinking, could we benefit from a rolling budget? At the moment, you'll see later, we do an annual incremental budget. But if we did a rolling budget where we're feeding forward any price changes, would it be more accurate and reflect any differences that are caused because they're constantly fluctuating? Also be aware, material price variances, they're going to be different, aren't they? If the price keeps changing, it might not be in the hands of our procurement manager that the price has changed. It might be a worldwide shortage, or the price might become much cheaper than it was planned to be. In that case, you could have some planning operational variances. Do you remember them? P1. Or you'd be asked about, should we revise our standards to reflect the latest price of nuts and nut butter to be fairer on our managers and make our variance reports more meaningful? Okay, we take 30 to 75 days to pay people. Seems quite long, doesn't it? So we're hoping we're not putting pressure on our suppliers with that. Okay, so sales, markets and channels. Okay, we're only in C land. So said already earlier that common exam trigger would perhaps move a new facility to D land or F land or another made up country. And that's a way we could expand sales by just rolling our same range out, but to a new marketplace. More about, let me see, we need to rent a small distribution center. Okay, so that's a direct flag for leasing, isn't it? So know how to account. For IFRS 16 comes up all the time. Numbers will be given to you. Just sort of explain what they mean. What do you do with the interest rate? How do you, do the right to use the asset? Where does it go on the financial statements? How does it affect profit each period? So on. So that's leasing. And we said setting up a new centre in a new country seems likely to increase their sales. Okay, they're retailers then. We've got we started selling our first product. 3PB is our personal best peanut butter protein bar. It's our big seller. Okay, sold it to gyms to start with, like they said earlier on. Okay, then we've got a national gym chain contract. So it could be like Total Fitness or something like that, which is good. We'd have to think about consistency, expectations, meeting that supply. With them being a big chain, they might take a long time to pay us and expect big orders. That puts pressure on our cash, doesn't it? And then we also sell to smaller organizations, little diverse organizations and so on. Okay, and then we send our full range. Don't hold anything back exclusively to one gym, to retail outlets, so gyms, petrol stations, convenience stores, spas, sports shops, and then supermarkets being another big B2B customer for us. So that's amazing getting our products out there, all these different places. And when you're going around the petrol stations and so on now, you'll probably start noticing like fuel bars and my protein products, and they're turning up everywhere. They're in the local shops, they're in the corner shops, they're in the co-ops. They really are. You can buy protein at the petrol station now. We could sell elsewhere. We could go to hotels, something else, or schools, or maybe private hospitals. So there's a few areas we haven't touched there, just so we can increase our products and get more money and make this more profit maximizing. Okay. This split now is sales volumes to the retailer types. So like I said, on Sunday night, if you're staying for the full course, you'll see that we're going to look at the real life industry, how many people sell to what retailers. What we see there, gyms. This color chart is a bit hard to understand from CIMA, but it goes around in a clockwise fashion. So gyms is the first one, the light blue, big amount. Then we've got the orange petrol stations, seem quite big. The dark blue one at the end is supermarkets. Okay, and it's done by units, not revenue here. So that shows how big gyms and supermarkets are as the customer base. And then smaller ones are like the spas and health food shops and so on. And the green one, sports, and going clockwise to supermarkets again. This gives you an idea of the volumes. Okay, and we're told it's 60% will be through retailers, which means 40% is through to website customers. Okay, so these are our customer types. Again, it's a kind of sales mix, isn't it? That if we get more supermarkets than gyms, we might find there's better profit margins on that. Also, could we sell another type of product to the same customers? So I put here frozen foods. If we were to make like my protein, I've got a frozen food range they do with Iceland. Could we sell like that to our existing customer base? They could buy our bars and our powders and our new range of frozen foods, and it'd be a way to get more revenue from existing customer bases. Okay, right then, so more about the website then. We said 60% through the retailers, and 40% goes through the website. we're expecting the website, and we see later that the website selling price is higher because we have to sell at trade price to retailers so they can make a markup. And again, we're reminded how important that website is for information and being interactive, getting people to vote on the polls and to comment on things and to share and to like and so on. Part of our social media strategy. Allergies mentioned, I said about nuts, didn't I? So that has to be clear labeling because this is medical. If you put things in your body, we wouldn't want a scandal where our product wasn't fit for purpose or dangerous. That could really ruin our reputation, couldn't it? And the website is a way to sell our product directly, but also to engage with the users and work out what people want, what's our customers looking for, what's important to them, what flavors do they want, what things do they value, who are our customers, and that's part of their success, isn't it? Okay, so distribution. Okay, we've got a small centre of our own, okay, and we ship to retailers and to website customers from the same place, okay, but we use a third party, so we kind of outsource logistics for the retailers. So we might have like what they're called, Hermes or whatever they're called now, maybe coming to pick our boxes up to take them to the retailers. We could take that facility in-house, or we could be asked to choose a new courier because the one we got isn't doing well, and what we might be given a payoff table of costs rather than profits, and you have to explain what the maxi min person would do, or what's the mini max regret person would choose from the payoff table that's given to you when you're choosing a new courier. We've got here, okay, so employees, big number of production, the most complex department, we're told, aren't we? Within there, there'll be skilled, semi-skilled, maybe trainees and so on. No need to memorize the numbers, just got an idea that production's a big number of people, the rest are smaller. I put here for variances, if we hire new employees in that mix, maybe slow things down, maybe a bit of idle time where they're trained. Efficiency variances might go adverse while people learn on the job, and so on. Or we might have some promotions that cause our labour rate variance to go up, go adverse. Okay, we might have some like KPIs about training them. How do we know a manager's doing a good job? So you might have like number of sick days, number of absenteeism, number of people leaving per year to see whether your staff are happy or not. And then we've got a lot of information in this one here, standard costing and budgets. Okay, so like I said, the examiner said, well, she's giving you clear links, clear mentions of terminology from any of your P1 or F1 or E1 subjects. She has no sympathy if you don't know what an absorption costing system is, okay, or any other kind of terminology she said. So you should know what standard means, which means there's a number of kilograms or number of grams per bar, how much labour time each bar takes. Those standards are created for each product. Okay, and if we vary from them, it causes our variance analysis. Absorption costing, you should know what that means, how we put the overheads in based on machine hours, labour hours. You should be thinking to yourself, is this the best way? Could you compare it to ABC costing? Would marginal costing be better here? Okay, we're also told that those costs are used for valuing inventory. So your closing stock will be measured using absorption costing. Okay, so if we have absorbed the wrong overheads into the product, it's going to affect our selling price, our costs per unit. But also you might be asked something like, what would the profit look like if we moved to marginal costing profit? You wouldn't have to calculate it, but you need to know about when your stock increases, absorption profit is higher, isn't it? Because your closing stock will include some level of overheads. So you could be asked to compare absorption to ABC, absorption to marginal, pros and cons of each. Hope I'm not scaring you, because all of this you've got it is an intensive course, and there is a lot to do, but it'll all fall into place when you've done a practice and done a few of the mock exams. Okay, we're also told budgets then. So this is our big planning tool. Okay, they're annually. So you've got to think, is that often enough for a company that changes the material costs all the time? Okay, incremental, again, terminology, so she wants you to know what that means. That means you take last year's, add a bit on, and you've got to think that's quick and simple. It's quite good for stable environments, but what about what does it do? It makes you, gets costs inflated, makes expenses get bigger, and there are drawbacks and benefits to that. Okay, we're told as well that Julia sets the budgets. Okay, and then new managers got limited involvement. Okay, so that's a top-down budgeting system. Okay, so senior management set the targets. And again, in the exam, you could be asked, what happens if we move to a participative or bottom-up system? Okay, so middle managers get involved. That would be good for motivation, wouldn't it? But bad if they start, padding their targets and building slack into the budgets and things like that. So that it seems like a clear flag that on one of the 6 variants, there'll be a question about whether incremental budgeting is the right way to go. Should we do zero-based budgeting instead? So you should know the difference, explain both. How would zero-based work? What's the decision package? What's good about the zero-based budgeting? What's bad about it? Okay, or we could be asked about, should we let managers get involved and let them participate? What's good about that and what's bad about that idea too? Okay. Well, the financial statements now, so let me have a look at the time. Okay, we've got a little bit of time, so I'm just going to okay, we're just going to flick to the start of the financial statements. Wasn't expecting to get this far, but we'll have a little look at it to start with, and then we'll go from there after, next session. Okay, 1 second, then we'll have our questions, so hold on to your questions. So we're just flicking to, so it relates to these pages, but I have analysed them in a different sheet. That's okay. So these are exactly the same numbers that are on page 21 of your pre-seen, but I did them in an Excel spreadsheet to make them more useful. Okay, so as part of the course, we've worked these calculations out for you. Okay, so we've got profit and loss account here. The current year that's just gone versus last year. Okay, I can make it a bit bigger if you like. I can't want to cut that off. Okay, so this is our revenue. Okay, so by comparing the difference and putting it over the original figure, it's a 20.9% increase. And these are not the budget, this is not the plan, this is the year that's gone. So this is an actual increase in revenue. They have increased probably through more products, better pricing, better marketing, and so on. So it's gone up like 4,126. That's a 20% increased growth in sales. Okay, so they said the average was 5% for powders. This is powders and bars in here, but that's pretty good, isn't it? If the average industry average is 5%, we've managed to grow at 20%, showing how successful we were, but also think about whether that was causing pressure on our resources and like capacity constraints and so on. Okay, so cost of sales did the same calc, gone up 18%, so not gone up in line, which means we're perhaps cutting a few costs. Okay, so later on in the committee notes, you'll see that cost cutting measures are mentioned. So maybe we did manage to reduce costs and get a bit more efficient to reduce that per product. Okay, and gross profit has gone up 26%. Seems in line. Okay, then sales, distribution, marketing costs. So on the face of it, it looks like they've gone up, but when we do it as a percentage, you can see it's similar to the revenue increase. So they've gone up in line, sales revenue, which means it's the supporting, it's obviously sending the product out, marketing, sales costs, and they've gone up in line a little bit more than sales themselves, but nothing too alarming because it's best to support those sales, aren't they? So they will increase in line. Seems reasonable, I'll put there. Okay, finance costs, they've gone down a little bit. Okay, you'll see that we haven't taken any new loans or anything later on, and then we paid the lease off as well. I put, operating profit and net profits all looking strong. Okay, 206% increase in profits there. That's really super, isn't it? Mainly driven by the sales and finance costs going lower a little bit. And then the tax will be a calculation on a column basis rather than an increase in itself, because it reflects the level of profits, doesn't it? Tax figure. Okay, so we're doing really, really well compared to last year. Okay, and we could also compare, if you wanted to, the budget figures that come later to see what's our growth in revenue expected to be this year. Okay, but these are the actuals up to June. Okay, so this was using those figures. I did some ratio analysis for you. Okay, so gross profit margin, we take the profit figure, put it over the sales to work out how much of our selling price or how much of our sales goes towards gross profit. So good margins, getting better due to the lower cost of sales. 35% seems decent, doesn't it? Seems like our strategy for quality is working. Okay. Yeah, okay. And then operating profit has gone up as well, and so has the net profit. Okay. I guess this shows us expenses between them. The gross profit's high and the operating profit comes down a bit. Return on capital employed, how much profit we're getting for the assets that are employed. So that's your net assets, isn't it? Okay, so how efficient are we using those assets to make profits? Getting better at that. Okay, return on assets is another one. Again, this uses net profit. It comes down because net profit's lower, but still we're doing better each year. Okay, and return on equity. This is profit over equity without any debt in there, and we are doing better there too. So all these ratios looking healthy. Everything's increased. And this is just reminding you that capital employed, if you wanted to work these out yourself, this is your equity plus debt, or it's your current assets, non-current assets plus current assets, less current liabilities, should give you the same figure. And you'll see that our asset base has increased a bit there. Okay. Okay, we're just going to finish this a little bit off and then we'll have our questions. So this is your statement financial position. Okay, so we'll see that our PPE has decreased a little bit, whether we sold some assets or whether that's just depreciation, we're not quite sure yet. Okay, receivables though have gone up a great deal. So these percentages are worked what's the change in the year. Okay, so we can see there's a lot of cash tied up in receivables. Those big B2B customers like the supermarkets and so on, they're obviously taking a long time to pay us. Receivables will increase in line with sales, but still, could we release that cash and get some of it out earlier somehow? Interesting one, we had zero cash in 22. Now we've got a healthy cash balance. Okay, and to match that below, overdraft down here was big last year, and now it's nothing. So we managed to pay off our overdraft, and now we've got cash in the bank. So we're doing well, but we wouldn't want any more strain on that cash if we can help it. Okay, we see retained earnings have gone up a lot. Okay, but when we look at the cash flow statement, we'll notice that no dividend has been paid in the year. For some reason, the directors didn't take a dividend in 2023, whether that was to pay off, to make sure they get that overdraft paid off. That's possibly why. So they've basically done without their dividend to make cash better, but that can't go on forever. They don't want to not be paid, do they? Okay, see leases come down a little bit. Okay, and it shows that they have got leases on there, so you should know how to account for them, like I said already. Long-term borrowing hasn't moved. Overdraft's been paid off. Yeah, trade payables getting a bit bigger, so we're holding our money back maybe from the suppliers a little bit more. Or in terms of absolute figures anyway, we'll look at the working capitals in a minute, ratios. Tax has gone up. Yeah, and then here's how we see how it's changed in terms of our ratios. Okay, so we've got receivable days, how long it takes us to pay our customers on average, to be paid by our customers. So They are taking longer. They were taking on average about 34 days. Now they're going to 37. So that strains our cash a bit. Could we get that money in faster? Early payment discounts and so on. Okay, how long we keep our inventory in stock for, so it is perishable. It will include all of our inventory, like packaging and everything, but it's pretty stable. We're not holding it too long. It doesn't seem to change much. Don't know what the industry average is, but presumably they've got that under control because quality is good so far. How long it takes us to pay our suppliers? Okay, it's getting a bit slower. 1 day slower. Okay, so we are getting our money in before we're paying it out. But remember, our suppliers are farmers and local and our strategic friends, aren't they? So we wouldn't want to put too much strain on their cash either. Okay, cash conversion is quick, both years. Asset turnover, about how much revenue you're making from the capital employed, pretty stable. Okay, and then we're looking at our debt ratios. Okay, so we can see gearing has gone down a bit. Okay, we think the lease being paid off. And obviously our overdraft was paid off. So that's slightly better for us, less risky. Still quite high though. And then we've got interest coverage. This is how many times could we afford to pay our interest costs using our current profits. The higher the better. And it's gone from like we could afford to pay it off 1.9 times last year. This year, the year ending June 23, we could have almost paid it off 4 times. Our current profit covers our interest expense 4 times over. So it's getting more healthy, more solvent, less worried about debt, not being able to pay our debt back. Okay, and there's the capital employed figure again. Some notes there. And then the cash flow before we go to questions then. So yeah, this is the standard cash flow and it's on page 23 of your pre-scene. And we won't do any more than page 23 today. We'll do the rest next time I see you. Okay, so it's just confirming that we've got quite a lot of money tied up in receivables. Okay, inventory, we obviously have to buy materials or whatever, but we have got quite a lot in receivables. Okay, and we're holding on to a lot of payables money there. Again, strain on suppliers. Okay, oh sorry, and we've got some kind of new purchase of some kind of asset. Okay, might be just some equipment or computers or something like that. Lease was paid off a little bit, would have helped our gearing a bit. And I just noticed that there's no dividends within this list of cash flows. There usually is in pre-scenes in the past, but there's no dividend deduction, not in 2023 anyway. So that's perhaps how they got the cash to pay off that overdraft. Okay, last page, just checking their solvency, their liquidity. You remember from F1, current ratio, how many times their current assets, their receivables, their inventory, their cash, how many times they can cover their current liabilities. Okay, so it's becoming more solvent. They've now got more current assets than they have current liabilities. So that's great news. The bigger, the better. Okay, but if we take out our inventory and they had to pay everything they owe today, not including your inventory because that's slow moving, isn't it? It's harder to get your cash from your inventory. It's your least liquid asset. It drops below 1. It's getting better. But at the moment, if we had to pay back everything we owe today, not including the stock we've got, we wouldn't be able to afford it. We haven't got enough current assets to pay on our current liabilities if we don't include stock in there. Okay, so let me go back to the pre-scene. So we'll come to questions now. 1 second, I'll put my chat bottle back up. Okay, we'll do this next time I see you. So we're up to the budgets and we'll do it from there. No, we did these on the Excel sheet. There we go, we'll go from here next time. Okay, so let me see what you put. So any questions you got, I'll go back and answer these now, just write them in. Okay, so can we get a recorded video for this of reference? Yes, I believe you get the pre-scene annotated version and it's recorded. And any questions like that, if you wanted to put it in to the info@VIVA. Oh. Wishing I'm writing in the bar for everyone.com. that's the kind of thing you can ask them and how you sign up and so on. This is free. Yeah, I'm sure it is. I know today is free, so they'll be able to help you with that. I did the tutoring, not really the that kind of side, you see. The future sessions, I believe, and again, I'm the tutor rather than the person who sells the courses, but future sessions, I believe you need to sign up for them. So Sunday night, tomorrow night, I'm doing an industry analysis. Next time you see me after that, I'm doing part 2, this pre-scene, the rest of the 20 pages 24 to 30 or whatever. What else have I got for you? Anything else you want to ask? You all know to book your exam. If you want to sit in a centre, you find that they get booked up quite quickly. So get yourself booked onto your centre, or you can sit them at home. So the bars are manually packed. Yeah, it could be automated. I'm not sure if it mentions that, does it? Definitely that's something that could be improved. And they could have some robotic machinery to pack it. And that could be good for them. That's a good idea. And that might affect overheads, mightn't it? Or might be a capital purchase. In terms of a fixed weightage, that's a good question. Okay, so P1 is your lead paper. Okay, and if you looked at what CIMA calls the blueprint, which is like the syllabus, you'll see there's a section on costing, budgeting, decision making, that all come from P1. Then there's a big section on working capital and financial reporting, which comes from F1. E1 kind of underpins it. So P1's your lead, F1's your big one, E1 takes as like a supporting role. Is that okay? High turnover of operation managers yet due to the year. They won't be very happy about not being involved in budgeting. They won't be able to set their own targets. They won't feel motivated if those targets are unrealistic. Has that founder, I can't remember who's our finance manager. Our finance director, has she got enough time to know what all the targets need to be? Does she talk to the suppliers and know how long it takes to make each bar? So she's setting targets for areas she doesn't work directly in. So that could be demotivating and they could be leaving for that reason. Any other questions? I hope you find it interesting. And I know it's a long pre-scene, it's loads to take in and we've flown through it. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it anyway. And any other questions, just let us know or email us on that info thing. And if you join up, there is a way where we can talk on, we've got a community of our own in VIVA. Is that okay? I'll let you go, take you off. Enjoy the rest of your day then. Okay. Bye guys, I'll take you off now then. Bye everyone. Brilliant. Thank you everyone. That's kind of you. See you soon.